The Washington Commanders head up north to face the New York Football Giants this Sunday. We've got your game preview with Big Dash Knows. Greetings and salutations. Welcome to Ref the District's game preview of the Week 7 interaction between the Washington Commanders and the New York Giants. I'm Nathan Perry. That's the Stoner. We here are on the Believe Network. We're going to have Big Dash Nose coming on here with us in a moment to talk about the New York side of things. And it is going to be an interesting game, Stoner. Washington went 0-1-1 last year against these New York Giants. Both of those games were very close. They were very low scoring. What's your prediction as far as how this game is going to play out? Is it going to be another low scoring game, or is this going to turn into a shootout as both defenses haven't quite got their footing underneath them?
Yeah, I think the first one. I think this is going to be a lower scoring game just because neither of these teams have kind of showed their explosiveness this year, especially the Giants. What is that record that they have right now, like 27 straight drives without a touchdown or something like that? I mean, they're in the pits offensively, but Washington's defense really hasn't shown a whole lot till this last game. This is a game to me, Nathan, it's gonna show the value of the coordinators, because in New York defensively with Wink Martindale, he loves to blitz. He loves to come from all angles, from players, the linebackers, from corners, from safeties, all that good stuff. Eric Bieniemy knows that, but he's got to design a proper offense game plan for this game to combat that. So that's where he's going to show his worth. And then on the other side of the ball, defensively for Jack Del Rio, you've got, if you don't have Daniel Jones, and it doesn't look like they'll have Daniel Jones, there's not a lot of weapons there except for Saquon Barkley. And so Jack Del Rio's got to, again, devise the proper game plan to stop Saquon Barkley and to make Tyrod Taylor beat you from the pocket. And that's what it really comes down to. If either one doesn't work out well for Washington, offensively or defensively, those coordinators are gonna take a lot of heat in the media this week.
Yeah, I imagine we're going to see a lot more of that Cinco package that we did against Atlanta, the 5 down defensive linemen there for Washington, trying to stop Barkley from getting anywhere. You mentioned Martindale loving to blitz. And what do you think we fear most from a Sam Howell perspective? Because he's shown struggles against being able to kind of identify a free runner. And also he's struggled, as we've seen, when they drop back 7 and only rush 4. So what do you think is scarier from the Sam Howell perspective? Martindale rushing a free guy in, or Martindale trying to do what we've seen Sam struggle against, which is the 7 drop back?
Yeah, I really think it's actually the guys blitzing that's going to give him more trouble, because he has shown a propensity to just stand in that pocket and hold the ball too long. And if they've got guys coming, then he's going to be in a little bit of trouble. But the 7 dropping is not good for him either. So look, again, this is where Eric Bieniemy has got to help Sam Howell. We talked to Matt Sims about this from Sims Complete, and he said the offensive coordinator can help get those sacks out of Sam Howell, not just by coaching it, but also by game planning it. So he's got to go with those shorter routes. He's got to have a safety valve at all times on these passes, quick passes. Stop with these long 25-yard routes for 4 guys that he's got to figure out if there's 7 guys back there, or if there's 6 guys rushing, whatever. Make it simple for Sam Howell. Short routes, intermediate routes, quick dump offs, the running game, run the freaking ball. And that's how Eric Bieniemy is going to be able to offset whatever Wink Martindale decides to do defensively.
Well, we need to find out what the Giants are planning. So let's get on Giants content creator Big Dash Knows. All right, Big Dash, thanks for joining us here in enemy territory. Not that you're in your home territory living out there in Arizona, but it is a interesting game coming up here for Washington and New York, as your New York Giants went 0-1-1 against our Washington Commanders last season, and one of those games was officiated by the crew that's officiating this Sunday. We, of course, have some beef with that crew. You probably
So
less
it must have been the
so.
second. It must have been the second crew,
Yeah.
from the second game.
Yeah.
Correct.
You have less beef with that crew. How much do you think officiating is going to play a part in Sunday's game?
Ah, man, I think the officiating overall, just around the league, has been, not up to par. I'm hoping that it doesn't play a part. Obviously, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about Darnay Holmes in the end zone last year, and the pass
Sure.
or the pass interference and call.
Don't
But
do
yeah,
air quotes. Don't do
no, it
air
was
quotes.
No air
no, it was
quotes on that one.
it's we're a year away from it. It was absolutely pass interference.
Yeah.
We got a little bit of that medicine last week against the Bills and
Little
in the
karma.
end zone too. So karma, that's
Yeah.
good. But yeah, no, absolutely. Oh, I hope not. I hope that refs, pretty much let these guys play, and don't ruin it, for the fans and for the team as well too.
What the heck is going on in New York? All the talk last year was the surprise team and the success and coaching matters. That's what I constantly heard was coaching matters when you went to Brian Daboll. Now all of a sudden Brian Daboll is the devil and they're saying he's the reason for all the problems. What changed with Brian Daboll from year 1 to now year 2?
Yeah, if I knew exactly, then I would be working for the NFL. If I knew
Right.
exactly, but no, when going into this season, on paper the roster looks better. You thought you would have better results, but it ultimately just ends up being like offensive line. We can pass a lot of that blame to Daniel Jones as well, not being the quarterback that we expected him as far as making the next step. I'm not saying he's throwing for 40 touchdowns or something like that, but we definitely expect him to be more on track to like maybe 30 this year, and he's looking, well, he's injured now, but I can't put my finger on it, too much. But I will say this offensive line has a lot to do with it. Also, um, the fan base too. When you're winning games, they excuse a lot of things that the coach might do because he was still fiery on the sideline last year. He's fiery on the sideline now. He's still, the questions that post game, he's still answering the questions the same way. It's just that when you're losing, you're under the microscope and they want to put a make believe hot seat. I think he's fine, as long as we start to see a little bit of production on offense. I think the last 2 weeks defensively, we had a couple of turnovers. We kicked it up on defense. Now, if we can try to do something, and again, Daniel Jones is not playing, but he had a good history against the Commanders. Now we're looking at Tyrod Taylor most likely. As far as I know, I didn't see any reports today of any change of Daniel Jones being cleared for contact. But I just think if you can show a little bit more production on offense, I think a little bit of that, I guess bad vibes for Daboll, goes away. Kafka's a whole nother issue though. Kafka, I got issues with Kafka.
Oh,
Yeah.
Well, you're bringing up that offensive line. I mean, you guys had a legendary moment with Pugh being like off the couch. They did manage to keep Tyrod Taylor upright for most of the game. He only had 3 sacks against Buffalo, a Buffalo team, by the way, that trounced Washington. Sam Howell got sacked 9 times in that game. How is this offensive line, this very, very makeshift? You're missing a lot of pieces there. How is that offensive line going to hold up to Washington's defensive front?
Like, you know what? And I've always gave the Commanders, Washington before they were the Commanders, credit for that defensive line. Like that front four is phenomenal. But for whatever reason, we tend to play you guys well. As far as I don't know if it's the quarterback being able to use his feet more, something like that. In regards to last week and Tyrod Taylor, one thing that Daniel Jones tends to do, I think that Tyrod Taylor doesn't do, is hold the ball a little bit too long. Like Tyrod Taylor's going to throw it into the stands if it's nothing there. He's going to try to get out pretty quickly. Daniel Jones will hold on a little bit longer and wait to the last second to still try to make that play, and sometimes it ends up with the sack. So, for me, offensive line, I got my fingers crossed. Um, Last week I had low expectations against the Bills. Von Miller, second week back, expected him to get into his regular zone, and it didn't happen. Luckily, but I can't say that the offensive line played fantastic last week for Tyrod Taylor. I just think that Tyrod Taylor did a couple of things that throwing the ball away, getting out of bounds that we don't normally see from Daniel Jones too much.
Well, while we're talking about those 2 QBs for the Giants, we were talking with our Washington viewers, and they were actually happy that Daniel Jones is going to be out because you mentioned, as you mentioned, got a pretty good record against us, 5-1-1, and not having a mobile quarterback back there and Tyrod Taylor seems like it might skew our way. Daniel Jones kind of surprisingly got a big contract this offseason. He has not been performing. He didn't really perform super well last year, but the going market for QBs keeps going up. What is it like having Daniel Jones getting 40 million a year, and now he might be sitting, and he certainly hasn't been playing up to that contract?
Yeah, I'll give you a little bit of history about me. So, obviously, when we first drafted Daniel Jones, wasn't happy. I actually wanted the guy that you guys drafted. I wanted Haskins. Then he gets thrown in there against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Fantastic comeback victory, then beat you guys the following week. And I'm like, okay, I'm on the Daniel Jones train. And then the next 2 seasons happened, and I was ready to toss him in the Hudson at the beginning of last year. I was through with him. And then, I was actually thinking like, okay, how many weeks do we have before Tyrod Taylor actually takes over starting quarterback? And then, we win a couple of games. He plays a lot better, or looks a lot better. And again, when you're winning games after you've been losing for 10 plus years, any kind of positive you're going to hold on to. And I'm guilty of it. I took a lot of that positivity going into this season. High expectations. You add Darren Waller, you add Jalen Hyde, you add Paris Campbell, all these other guys. And I'm like, okay, we paid them. And I'm like, well, it wasn't at the top of the quarterback market, but we pretty much paid him more than we should have at the time. But if he had about 6 or 7 touchdowns right now, we probably wouldn't be whining him as much about it. But the way that the offense is looking, I think that's what the issue is, and the fan base is absolutely flipped. Some people already did not, like him going into the season. They thought all last year was fake. I was a little bit more optimistic. I'll admit that. But right now, it's like for me, I don't care what we paying him. I don't care who the quarterback is. I just want to win games. I want to look good. And right now, it's up for grabs. I will also say this though, Daniel Jones had a front row seat to what Tyrod Taylor was able to do, and he didn't do much. Like a lot of people think Tyrod Taylor did some fantastic job last week. It wasn't super fantastic, but what he did was he took the shots. He gave players a chance to make plays, and we saw that with Darius Slayton. And with Daniel Jones seeing that, I think that once he is back, hopefully he takes a lot of those chances because that's what I've been asking for weeks. But it sucks to answer your question. It sucks to pay this man that much money. I went on a tangent, but I'm saying it sucks to pay this man that much money and not get the results that you're looking for.
Sam Howell makes $850,000 this year. Just saying. And
I like Sam Howell.
He's outperforming Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I like Sam Howell coming out too. So
yeah,
I thought he didn't get a fair shake either.
Yeah. Speaking of contracts and Giants players, like the best player on the Giants this year, last year, offensively, defensively, special teams, front office, whatever, Saquon Barkley, it makes the Giants go, and he's by far their best player. Yeah. Why won't they give him the money that he deserves? Let's put aside the whole running backs don't get paid kind of deal. He's the best player. He's what makes this offense goes for New York, at least in my opinion. Why are they not giving him the amount of money that he deserves?
You can't trust him. I mean, that's hard. Like, as far as being healthy, your best ability is availability. And yes, he's phenomenal. He's fantastic. But how many times has he been out for multiple games or for seasons? And I think that played a large part of it. And then I have to blame it on the running back market as a whole too. We did offer him a better deal than the franchise tag. He thought he was worth more than that. He turned it down. GM, held his ground on that. They were able to get a deal done. They gave him, I think it was an extra $1 million at the end of it with this contract. But who knows what's going to happen now? But I was for whatever happens. I was like, okay, if we're going to do this, let's go ahead and pay Barkley. I was fine with that. If we were going to try to move on from Barkley, I thought maybe draft a little bit higher and running back, because the running backs that came out this draft. Look at them. They're fantastic. Charbonnet is one of them. The guy from Miami is another guy that's a rookie. This was a good year to get a running back a lot earlier, and we didn't do that. And Barkley is a superstar. It's just that I can't trust him 100% to be there, day in, day out, week in, week out, and for these games.
Yeah, you have my vote if you want to get rid of him. I don't want to see him in a Giants uniform.
By far, continue
terrified.
signing Daniel Jones to extensions and do not
Yes.
sign Saquon Barkley.
Correct.
I wanted
Barkley's
the
gonna
guy that you guys had. I wanted Brian Robinson in that draft, man. I thought that would have been a nice 1-2 punch.
Sounds like
got
you
to
could
him.
be a Commanders fan.
I know, you
Oh,
might
man.
as well just switch
Dwayne
over.
Haskins, you wanted Howell, you wanted Brian Robinson. Come on over. There's room.
No, I mean when I watch a lot of college ball, and between you guys, Dallas, Philadelphia, you guys have great drafts. I know about a lot of the guys that you guys draft, and I'm just sitting there like I wish these guys were on our team. Like some of the guys, and I look over a lot of players too when it comes to draft season, and we'll pick somebody, and I'm like who. And I've been looking at 400 or 500 players, and I'm still not like who, like Joshua Zuda, who is that? Cordell Flott, who's that? I'm like, Pickens is there. We got Wandale Robinson. So it's when I look at you guys and how you guys draft, I look at Dallas for sure, Philadelphia again. I hate Philadelphia more than anybody, but I have to admire the drafts that you guys had. Pretty good drafts. Outside of your number one pick this year, I didn't think he should have went that high.
Well, he's certainly having some struggles, but the good news is you're not using Jalen Hyatt, and you don't have any wide receivers for him to guard in the first place.
We're not taking the chances, man. We're not taking the chances.
So Barkley is, like Stoner said, kind of the offense there. He's going to have some tough sledding this week as Washington will likely employ their Cinco package, those 5 defensive linemen that worked really well against the Atlanta Falcons. Bijan Robinson, a very dynamic player in his own right as well. How will Barkley do Sunday against that front, that Cinco package that Washington likes to run?
I think if sorry, my headset. I think we need to stick with the run and then run behind the bigger side, like the right side. You're looking at Evan Neal, you're looking at Marcus McKeithen. These guys are better moving forward than moving backwards. So they're better in running the ball than pass protection. I think you still need to try to stick behind that. Also, try to get him involved in the passing game. We've been saying this for 2 years now on the Kafka. We thought it was going to be, like an Alvin Kamara, Christian McCaffrey type deal with Saquon Barkley because he has the ability to do that, and we have not seen that yet. And one of those issues is that defenses, when they play the Giants, they're keying on Saquon Barkley. They ask, why can't we run a successful screen? Because everybody's focused on Saquon Barkley. If you had a successful passing game, maybe they can fall for the screen or something like that. But so I think you have to keep pushing. There's no real recipe to it. If we had a dominant offensive line, then you just line up man to man and just push them off the ball and run with Saquon Barkley. But Barkley has not had that since he's got in the league. Last year he saw a little bit better blocking. Thought it was going to be even better this year. But there's no real answer to that. And again, you guys are strong up front. And the only thing we can do is try to maybe react to what you guys are doing. I would love to say we can dictate to the Washington Commanders how we're going to run our offense, but I don't think that happens unless the best thing for me, I think, is to spread you guys out and try to find the mismatch with Saquon Barkley. If we can line them up in the backfield, motion them out, get them on a linebacker one-on-one, work the flats, work the wheel routes, stuff like that, option routes, then maybe we can do something like that. But we don't have that type of protection. And that's the biggest issue with the New York Giants for me this year. I expected the protection to be better. I expected the offense to open up under Kafka. And we're looking at everything is tight still. You have double tight ends, but one guy's Waller's not the best blocker. So, how good is that going to be? So I think we need to stick with the spread out and maybe work Saquon Barkley, how like the old days of the Philadelphia Eagles with McNabb and what was the running back's name back then for the Eagles? Not Dawkins.
Maybe Westbrook.
There you go.
Yeah,
how they
Westbrook.
worked the short pass was an extension to the running game for the Philadelphia Eagles back then. So that's what I'm hoping for. But then we're not just going to line up and try to power and run against you guys. We have to be more thoughtful than that and then try to scheme and try to find a mismatch.
So let's switch to the other side of the ball for the Giants. Defensively, not good against the run. 147.5 yards per game defensively.
Yeah.
Not bad against the pass, kind of middle of the pack, and just in terms of your basic stats of how many yards per game they give up. So what do the Giants look at on the Washington offense and say, this is what we're worried about, and this is what we have to scheme up to stop?
Well, the one thing I like about it is, again, I like our defense against your offensive line. You don't have the strongest offensive line, and then you have a young quarterback. So, with Wink Martindale, is he going to try to send that pressure? Are we going to play man to man and less zone on the outside? I don't know. It is scary Terry out there. You know, you guys have some weapons on the outside as well. So for me, I think trying to get pressure with the front. I do like the way that Bobby Okereke has finally stepped in at the linebacker spot. You mentioned the running game last week; they did pretty good against the run against the Bills, but it is the Bills, not known for running the ball too much. But I think that if we can keep if we can force you guys or force Sam Howell to beat us, that's going to be the first step. Is try to stop that run. Better linebacker play again. Okereke and McFadden seem to be coming into their own right now. The last two games. We tried to beef up the defensive line by adding, Nunez Roches and then adding Ashawn Robinson. I wish they'll play the rookie Jordan Riley a little bit more. But Nick Gates is your center. Leno is your tackle. I like those matchups. Dexter Lawrence is very familiar with Nick Gates. I think if we can push the pocket there, get that pressure, hopefully, and try to slow down Brian Robinson. And I forget the name of your other running backs. The other running back right now. Gibson. There you go. And I think he's a versatile guy. If we can do that, then hopefully we can keep the score low and hopefully, win by a field goal because I can't trust my offense right now.
Well, you did keep a low score against the Bills last week. You mentioned the defense really kind of coming into its own these last couple of weeks. Martindale is somebody who we would be concerned about on our side of being able to scheme against, like you said, the young quarterback and Sam Howell. What should we expect from Martindale? You mentioned you're not sure zone or man or whatnot, but as far as kind of the exotic plays, are we going to see something where he's going to throw something we're not familiar with? Or what we have seen teams do against Sam Howell is just drop everybody back and let four men try to get after Sam Howell. I
wish Wink would follow that philosophy sometimes, but he doesn't. He'll send guys on the outside. He does like to send the A-gap blitz with the linebacker too. So what I expect him to do is that safety blitz, maybe slot corner blitz, things like that, because that's just Wink Martindale. That's his DNA. No matter what I try to do as far as talking these videos and stuff like that about trying to get pressure with your front four. Now we don't have Azeez Ojulari. We don't have another guy on that other edge. I think he's going to go back to or resort back to old Wink ways. Hopefully we see some pre-snap motion. That way we can identify what you guys are doing on offense or try to confuse Sam Howell so he doesn't know what we're trying to do and just send that pressure. Because it's Wink Martindale at the end. He's predictable. It's going to be a lot of pressure. If Sam Howell can prove that he can hit his hot reads and his check downs and stuff like that, maybe he backs up. But one thing with Wink Martindale, he's gonna play his way first, and then if you guys beat the way he's scheming, he'll fall into that zone, and I hate that zone, to be honest.
Well, you don't sound super optimistic. Let me just say that. So, but my last question for you is,
beat it out of me
for the Giants.
I got to beat out of me. The optimism was beat out of me.
Hey, I hear you.
When you're 1-5, there's not a lot of optimism. Yeah.
Like 4 weeks ago, beginning of the season.
Yeah.
My confidence was sky high, man. They beat it out of me, man.
Yeah. All right. So now it's time to go ahead. At least from my last question for you is, what's the score going to be? What's your game prediction for Washington v. New York up at MetLife?
I definitely think we need this game. You guys need the game as well. But I think somehow, some way we put it together. Whether it's Tyrod Taylor, whether it's I really don't think it's going to be Daniel Jones. But I can see a low scoring game, tough defensively, maybe a 14-17 game. I am going to pick the New York Giants for sure. I wouldn't have it any other way. But I think Graham Gano kicks the victory.
That's a guy I'm scared of, by the way. Gano, he just never misses, man.
He used to be another former Washington player. See, Big Dash, he really just
he was on Washington. He was on Washington.
Graham Gano is a Washington kicker. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So there you go. See, you're practically a Washington fan, even though you picked the Giants. The Washington.
I do have some family in DC, but yeah.
The Washington Commanders play the New York Giants this Sunday up in New Jersey, not in New York. Doesn't matter here. Big Dash in Arizona. We appreciate you jumping on here with Ref the District to preview the game from the Giants side of the ball. I'm Nathan. That's the Stoner. And until next time.
No Daniel Jones, please.
Thank you for having me, fellas.
Be a fan.